This is the Star Wars podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about Star Wars Skeleton Crew, Season 1, Episodes 1 to 8. Haha.
No, the coordinates are gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
Who would do that?
I did. Why, were you looking for those?
You destroyed them? When?
When I was here before, with my old captain.
You were here? Why would you destroy them?
Destroy what?
The coordinates.
What coordinates?
What you just said to At-Atin.
Can't say I remember no At-Atin.
Stop saying that!
Welcome back, fellow crewmates, to the Star Wars podcast on TV Podcast Industries. This time we are discussing all things Star Wars Skeleton Crew, Season 1, Episodes 1 through to 8. I am one of your me hearties crewmates, John.
Welcome back, pirates. I'm one of your other hosts, Derek. We did it. We're actually going to talk about Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We have lost one of our crew. He couldn't make it. Chris, of course, couldn't make it, unfortunately, for our coverage of Skeleton Crew. Mainly because I'm keeping him in reserve for the next podcast we're doing, which is Invincible, which starts up in just a couple of weeks, and we'll need him every week for 8 weeks. So I'm keeping him in reserve.
He's the reserve battalion of vocals
of our crew here at TV Podcast Industries. Exactly. But we are here to talk about another Star Wars show for the entire season of Skeleton Crew, which just finished this week. Yes,
absolutely. We're going to go through each episode quite briefly, just our kind of main point kind of from each of those episodes. Mm-hmm. Just get into the discussions and bits and bobs around those, to be honest. I think, just generally for me, didn't quite know what to make of sort of episode 1. Not what to make of it. I just didn't know really how it was going to go. Mm-hmm. And then kind of by the end of it, it was just like, yeah, this is good fun.
It is.
Really good fun and a really good set of main protagonists here in the 4 kids from At-Atin, Wim, Fern, KB, and Neil. Really, really good.
Can I ask who your favourite is? Are you allowed to say who's your favourite kid in a TV show?
I really liked Wim. I thought he was really kind of just embodied that inquisitive, outward-looking kid with a sense of adventure, a sense of imagination and stories, and that really came across and kind of driving the others, And I liked the counterpoint of Wim, his best friend Neil, who was kind of like cautious, scared, and kind of being helped along. So I thought this was a really nice little dynamic.
Absolutely, and I have to say my favourite is KB. I think a person that can put her mind to anything and can fix absolutely anything. She's cool to have around. Fern was great too. They were a really strong character, able to push back against Wim throughout the series. I thought that was fun. But Wim has that kind of wide-eyed avatar about him. It's like you watch it and go, oh, well, that definitely would be me if I was 10 years old, looking out at the stars going, I wish I would be out there, rather than getting a job in data processing and analytics, which is basically my job. So I think I would feel just like Wim at that age.
Absolutely. And what did you think about the others, the non-children, the adult characters here?
Jude Law, fantastic.
He was, wasn't he?
As Jod Narwood, which I think is the final name they settled on by the end of the season. He had about 4 or 5 throughout the season, but he's so good, and he's carrying scenes where he's dealing with very young actors around him, and has that menace of an adult around them, and sometimes being the guiding force in front of them, and then he's dealing with all the creatures and all the pirates. He really is holding the show together, but he's that great an actor. He can really turn his hand to anything, and I think he did a great job in the show.
And I must say, I really enjoyed SM33, voiced by Nick Frost.
Do you know, it's weird. It took me a whole episode of hearing him.
A while to
and then
realize
suddenly I
it
was
Nick
like,
Frost.
he's just doing Nick Frost's voice as well. It's not like he's really like hamming it up. It just sounds like Nick Frost doing a pirate's voice, which you've heard before, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly.
But he's great.
It was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed almost that sense of robotic chaos that he brought. I think all droids, whether it be SM33, Chopper,
of course,
you know, the more chaos they bring, or the more dysfunctional they are, the better.
Yeah, and like K2SO in soon to be in Andor season 2, and also in Rogue One, loved that sarcastic droid.
Absolutely.
It was really great. L337 in Solo, who's voiced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is up for the droid uprising all the time. It just had some great droids throughout Star Wars history, and I think SM33 is another one there. I think we spent the entire last 6 or 7 weeks going, I can't say I know nothing about no AT-AT, and even if that's not exactly the line.
Well, I've been making up all manner of different versions of that.
Absolutely, but he's great. He's in the pantheon now of Star Wars droids, and wow, how many times did that droid die? Or got chopped up or turned off. I love that he had a power button on his back as well, where you could just turn him off if he annoys you too much.
But that makes sense. Yeah. Like unplugging a toaster.
Exactly.
Literally.
Exactly. And I guess we learn as the season goes on, that he is a very old droid as well.
Yes.
He'd be in the range of the droid from Ahsoka that was played by David Tennant. He'd be a much older droid, way before the ones that we've seen usually in the movies and TV shows. So.
Excellent stuff. But just before we get into our spoiler-filled discussion of the full season of Skeleton Crew, please remember, fellow crewmates, that you can subscribe to TV Podcast Industries over on tvpodcastindustries.com. We can sign up on any planet-lubbing or space-faring podcast player of your choice.
I wrote that.
You did indeed.
And I forgot. I think I read that a few weeks ago.
I remember you asking me as well. What would be
what kind of podcast players would you say for a piratey show? That's not bad though, is it?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
We'd also love to hear from you. I know we're only doing one episode on Skeleton Crew, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on the show. You can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. Before we go into it, in case you haven't watched it, because not everybody tunes into every Star Wars show, would you recommend our fellow crewmates go and watch Skeleton Crew, John?
I would recommend it. I'm not going to say that it would be for everyone. And I would put that kind of heavy warning out there for our fellow crewmates.
Yeah.
And fellow rebels and other Star Wars enthusiasts.
Yeah.
But I think it's certainly a good watch. I think if you've got kids as well, it's really good watch. I mean, what was the thing that I think one of the reviews that we saw, it's like Saturday morning cartoons brought to life.
Absolutely.
And it does have that aspect. I thought it was a really accurate sort of description of it. And I always loved my Saturday cartoons. I always like going back into, the world of children's myth and excitement and adventure. There's a lot here drawing from your own childhood, let alone it's being Star Wars, which is my childhood.
Yeah.
But there's huge Goonies references here as well, connected in with this show.
Yeah.
And as well as just the whole pirate thing. It's really kind of cool. So I would recommend our fellow crewmates to watch this. And
for me, I'd probably say what I said after watching the first couple of episodes. I'd say if you have a kid in the range of about 7 to 10, or maybe a little bit older, and you're trying to introduce them to Star Wars, this is probably a great starting point. It's exciting, it's fun. About 4 or 5 episodes in, I was really looking forward to each episode coming up. Yeah. I felt the first couple, I was kind of going, it's okay, it's fine. Not for me, not my Star Wars.
Yeah,
almost.
I agree. I think the first one, I think certainly pushed through that.
Yeah.
And I think, some really good episodes. I think episode 6 for me was a standout. Really kind of emotional, meaningful, coming from the characters.
Yeah. I'm going to make sure that John doesn't spoil
No,
anything, because
exactly.
this is our non-spoiler piece.
And there's also,
we'll talk about
you
it
know, there's some real elements of darkness in this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I think that's why when people say it's reminiscent of those 80s children's adventure movies, they pick things like The Goonies, and they, you know, that's well known as being a movie that was a bit darker than the kind of movies that were out there for kids at the time. Yeah. A bit of a surprise that it was a PG movie. You know, this show definitely centers around kids, has that touch of darkness in the Star Wars universe, and there's mild peril, I would say, would be my my description of the show. But it was a lot of fun to watch, and the kids are great. Really enjoyed them. By the end of the season, really enjoyed them.
But I didn't do with peril, whether it's mild or not.
You love a bit of peril, John.
Yeah, I do. Exactly. But Derek, let us get on with our spoiler-filled discussion. Give us some of the season details.
Absolutely. First up, the showrunners for this show are John Watts and Christopher Ford. John Watts we know very well here over on TV Podcast Industries, because he was behind Tom Holland's Spider-Man trilogy. He did all three of the movies with Tom Holland. He and Christopher Ford actually worked together multiple times before they did the first Spider-Man movie, but both of them wrote Spider-Man Homecoming together, and this is the first project they've had since then, but it was developed together between the two of them with John Watts and Christopher Ford. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
You know, you can kind of see this would be something that was kind of playing around in their mind. They're young enough guys. They probably did know each other for many years before they worked together on Spider-Man trilogy. So this is their adventure that they worked on together. It's kind of cool.
Yep, really good.
And for episode one called This Could Be a Real Adventure, was written by John Watts and Christopher Ford and directed by John Watts as well.
Excellent.
So, John, do you want to give us the quick synopsis for episode 1, This Could Be a Real Adventure?
Sure. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, following the defeat of the Galactic Empire by the Rebel Alliance, trade routes are plagued by pirates. In one such group, led by Captain Silvo, his crew overthrow him after yet another failed heist. On the planet at Atin, 4 children, Wim and his friend Neil, and Fern and her cybernetically enhanced friend KB, stumble across a galactic starship. Wim accidentally activates the ancient ship, sending them into the far reaches of the galaxy.
Great stuff. And as we said, we're going to talk about some of the major things that happened in each of the episodes, something that, you know, may have stood out to you. So we call these our saber points in our Star Wars podcasts. So the first one really is that opening sequence, the pirate attack at the beginning of the episode, where we see, we can say it now, we've seen all the episodes, where we see Jod in a mask called Captain Silvo here with his crew. He's trying to lead them all on this heist and get them some money, effectively. So I suppose the setting that we have here is after Return of the Jedi, and it's a time when we now have the new Galactic Republic, but pirates are still out there trying to make a living as pirates. So we're checking in with a group we don't see very often in live action shows, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But the attack itself was so cool.
Oh yeah, it was really good. Sort of that updated, enhanced sort of attack on the high seas, but in space. It was really good. It's interesting how you kind of think about how they would do it. And I loved kind of the pods shooting out from the pirate ship and sort of just burrowing into the side of the other ship that they're targeting. I love the fact that, you know, despite that the ship under attack was firing, blowing those up, and you just kind of had people. It's almost like taking the rope and swinging across that gap from one ship to another.
Yep.
In this case, it was kind of being propelled across in space in order to put sort of little detonators on the ship to blow up the cannon,
it was so cool.
the laser cannon.
Yeah.
And I kind of really enjoyed this. I liked the pirates as well themselves. You know, ragtag group of multiple different species from throughout the Star Wars galaxy as well.
Yeah.
You know, it was really good.
Absolutely.
It felt very reminiscent of that, and I thought it was like a real big opening.
It was. Yeah, it was really exciting, really, really interesting. And I thought quite adult for what I thought the show was going to be. You see quite a lot of people getting killed in that opening sequence. All the crew of the ship they're attacking, apart from the captain, are all killed on screen, which I thought was a bit of a surprise. I did love some of the touches of it though, where we had the three-eyed alien who gets shot in one eye, and for the rest of the season you see him one eye patch over one of the eyes. I thought that was a great little touch. And then they capture the captain and try and get him to show them where the hole is supposed to be, and it ends off there's only one credit in there, which leads to Silva being ousted from his position and Brutus taking over as the lead of the pirates. So lots of good setup of that side of the story of the pirates in that first episode.
Absolutely,
I thought that was cool.
yeah. And I think then it contrasts really nicely with kind of going to this really strange at in society, and it's really unusual. I don't think we've ever been to suburbia in Star Wars. I mean, even if you just think of Coruscant, it's high rises across the planet.
Mega rises.
Most other cities that you see, it's either kind of really hyper developed or really slightly underdeveloped, almost like the mud huts on Tatooine and all this kind of stuff. So this was really strange to see the
Sand huts,
suburbia, and seeing it immediately raised my hackles really, because you don't expect it, and suddenly if there was something felt immediately wrong with this pristine, seemingly quite peaceful planet of At-Atin, with the usual stuff, kids going to school, sort of a very sort of orderly society with the great purpose that they're all aiming for. Their parents all assigned jobs. It's kind of one of those either utopian or dystopian, depending on how you look at it, where, at seemingly post-school or at birth, you're assigned a particular role in society in order to keep this peaceful, perfect, harmonized society.
Get your employment ship over here.
And you're kind of wondering what is underneath this. So it was kind of interesting, and you find out that there is this great squall of nebulous gases as well surrounding the planet.
There's bits I loved about this, and I realized a couple of weeks later why I was so set off, almost, I'd say, by that first episode and the suburbs being there, because it doesn't feel like something in Star Wars. What I realized a couple of weeks later was that I was finding the problem with it is in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the Marvel movie, they have a similar setup. They have a planet that the Guardians go to that looks like Earth, and it's suburbs, and it's aliens inside inside a suburb. So it's loads of animals that have come to life and look like humans, all living like humans on a planet. And it's the same setup. It's almost exactly the same, this spaceship arriving on this planet. And when I saw this first episode, that's all I could think of. That was the thing that was in my head. Oh, it's going to be revealed that this is a clone of Earth, or we're actually on Earth here, almost. But thankfully, as the episodes went on, it isn't that at all. It makes a lot of sense why this place is cookie cutter, let's say, which is the worst description, I suppose, of a suburb. It is just little boxes on a hillside, as the old Weeds theme used to say.
Absolutely.
But the idea is that they've set up this planet to be completely self-sufficient. Nobody ever leaves the planet. It all looks the same, and everybody lives in the same street, same road, does the same thing every day. It's a boring society, so I kind of get the idea why it would look like a suburb to us. It is a bit different, but everybody lives in a very rich-looking house, let's say. But I kind of like the idea that they've transposed the basic suburb concept and put it into this space planet, because it's completely closed off from every other world and every other galaxy.
And it's interesting as well, because as well with Wim's father, like, at least for maybe the first 2 episodes, I wondered whether it was an outpost of the Empire.
Yes.
Like, you're not seeing stormtroopers or anything like that. You're not seeing the symbols of the Galactic Empire on At-Atin, but there's something that feels immediately suspicious about Wim's dad.
Right.
But I think it's being told through the fact that he is he knows about the society.
Exactly.
You don't get told the purpose of the society until after your assessment in your final year at school. And so he comes across as being manipulative and a bit shady because he's keeping Wim, sort of his son, away from that knowledge.
Exactly.
And so you think there's other nefarious stuff, and that this society is hidden and has very little interaction with the outside world. You're kind of going, I was kind of thinking, is this somewhere where like Grand Admiral Thrawn would have been in order to sort of keep himself hidden from the New Republic? So, yeah, there was all that suspicion for the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes.
Yes. Yeah, it's great. And I enjoy that intrigue. And just to quickly reference, we talked about in our Acolyte podcast, one of the challenges there was that they had a central mystery that even their major characters are not telling you the story. They're hiding key pieces of information from you. I think that it's handled much better here in Skeleton Crew, that the central mystery actually goes into the background for a while, for a few episodes. It's not something that you have to focus on to find out whether you enjoy the story or not. Acolyte felt like that. You needed to know the mystery and solve that mystery before you could work out whether you could enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Whereas Skeleton Crew just has a lot of fun around it, but there is the mystery in the background. It's intriguing. What is that at, and what's the society? But
actually, it's secondary to everything else.
Exactly.
And ultimately here, it's seeing Assassin Society and Wim's imagination and, in a sense, his expectation for adventure. Like, he loves stories, he loves reading about the Jedi, and in the end, puts him on an adventure on Assassin, which leads him to activating an ancient ship, which makes him leave Assassin and with hyperspace very far away from Assassin.
Absolutely.
And I think onto episode 2.
Well, I was just going to say one final thing about the episode. I do love that Wim sees that button and goes, I'm not going to press it, and then presses it. I just thought that was
exactly.
really fun. The adventure had to start somehow. Somebody had to press the button. So I love that Wim is that kind of kid. He's like, I got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, let's get on to episode 2, Way Out Past the Barrier, also written by John Watts and Christopher Ford. This episode is directed by David Lowery, and one of the things that's really interesting about Skeleton Crew is the directors that they attracted to this the show. Really interesting. David Lowery most recently directed the movie The Green Knight with Dev Patel, a really well-respected movie.
Really different,
really adult movie.
Artistic angle.
Yeah, but it's kind of like they got a lot of very up-and-coming directors, people that have done some really interesting indie movies and indie films, and said, hey, do you want to do a Star Wars show? Do you want to do a bit of Star Wars? Pop on over here, join us for Skeleton Crew. So really interesting to see David Lowery jump over and do this episode of Skeleton Crew. John, do you want to tell us what the synopsis is for the second episode?
Sure. The kids meet the ship's droid SM-33, and Fern convinces him she's the new captain. Unable to return them to Assassin-33 takes them to a pirate outpost, where the children are thrown into the brig when the pirates hear they are from the lost planet of Assassin. They meet Jod Nanawud, formerly known as Captain Silvo, where they learn he is force sensitive as he offers his help to them to escape in return for taking him with them.
Yes, so Jod, in prison with the kids, or in the brig with the kids, I guess, is how that episode ends. But we do see this massive pirate outpost. We get to meet SM-33 in this episode, so lots of other big settings here. I love that the episode opens that they're going, how the hell do we get back home? We've just hyperspace jumped from our planet, having never left our planet before, and never knowing that was possible, even.
Yeah, but I mean, it also, interestingly, is that SM-33 comes to life here. It's kind of reactivated. Is almost like the co-pilot, the pilot droid here for the previous captain, and kind of says, yeah, I'll take you home. And they're all thinking it's back to Assassin, but it's not. It's to this pirate outpost, which is glorious. It does sort of have this kind of sense of, a space outpost, but it has that vibe of Tatooine, of Mos Eisley,
yeah, absolutely.
you know, and it's really, really cool. Just lots of like dubious characters selling their wares, backstabbing other people, double crossing others, you know, as these 4 children are come off their ship and are kind of like just walking around wondering effectively what to do. It's like, well, this isn't our home.
Exactly.
And I like how they become the center of intrigue because they provide, and again, this is kind of the first clue to their home planet. They provide Old Republic credits.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
Not galactic credits, not New Republic credits, but Old Republic credits.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that's a real nice moment where like they're buying some food, Wim and Neil, and he pays with some Old Republic credits that he's got.
Yeah.
I love the fact that later on as well, because people just keep asking him to pay more and more in order to get these credits, he starts stuffing them into his sock.
Absolutely.
So that they don't get stolen. This is kind of like his pocket money, you know. I'm going to lose everything.
But that's kind of what I love, you know, just that little thing in the back of your head that you're going, on at Atten, this was just his lunch money for the week. Off planet, everywhere he's going, 1 coin of that is basically buying someone a house. You know, that's the intention here.
Exactly.
Atten is a very expensive place, but they have nothing to compare it to because they all have lots and lots of cash flowing around. You know, whereas off planet, everybody's looking at one of these strips of coin, going, that I need more of that. Oh
well,
my
that's
god!
it. With the
nice.
meal, he puts down 1, and then the chef behind the counter is like, oh no, it's 4 of those, and you know they just become the center of attention, unwanted attention, as it happens.
Yeah, I must say I loved this pirate outpost. That was the first Saber point that we had. The pirate outpost itself, the whole setting of it. You know, if you work in Star Wars and you don't take the opportunity to put in some hive of scum and villainy, then you're not doing Star Wars right. We've been playing a lot of Star Wars Outlaws, the video game that came out in the PlayStation and Xbox. We've been playing a lot of that over the last couple of months, and I felt you could see maybe Kay Vess in the corner somewhere there, the main character of Outlaws. You could see her probably somewhere in the corner there.
And it links in with that, links in with Solo and Calrissian, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really, really good.
Really cool.
But here they ultimately find themselves being put into the brig, and this is where they come across Jod Nanawad, and the Jedi. You see that he has some Jedi powers.
Or does he?
Or does he? Exactly.
I kind of love this. Like this
is he just Force sensitive?
Yeah, this is kind of the second Saber point, I suppose, is Jod the Jedi. Is he or not? I think as the show was going on, you get that revealed what it actually is all about. But even in this episode, there's something about Jod and the way that he's using the powers that he does have in front of the kids that he doesn't feel like a real Jedi or Sith. He feels like somebody that's able to manipulate the Force in some way, but that's kind of it. And because of our coverage of Ahsoka and because of the other shows that we've been watching over the last couple of years, the Clone Wars and Bad Batch, we kind of now understand it a bit more that not everybody has to be either a Jedi or a Sith if they have access to the Force. Other people can have access to the Force, like Sabine Wren in Ahsoka and Rebels, have access to the Force but aren't necessarily massively experienced or chosen a side like Jedi or Sith, but having a character like Wim meeting the first ever person he's seen able to control the Force. I love that instantly himself and Neil introduce himself and they're instantly on the side of Jod. They're saying he's a Jedi. They're instantly there with him. Whereas KB and Fern don't even give them their names. They're going, who's this weirdo? Let's keep him away from us. They don't trust him at all. He was in the brig, you know?
Yeah.
Let's not trust him.
It's this glorious starting point as well for Wim's ultimate disappointment and letdown across the whole of this season as to, you know, this Jedi that he's kind of so excited to meet feels as being rescued by him, and ultimately the promise of what Jod the Jedi is, the reality of it is very different and becomes a huge disappointment. I think it's quite sore for Wim.
Very much so.
You know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't as such get explored like that, but it's just the change in their relationship, because it's one of kind of real excitement to him realizing he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's not a Jedi who he's always, in his stories that he's read, the Jedi have been the good guys. You know?
Exactly.
And it is to the point of the last episode's title, here come the good guys.
The real good guys, yeah.
The real good guys.
Yeah.
And it really does sort of play out quite nicely in that sense, having this sort of huge fireworks of this meeting of Jod the Jedi for the 4 kids.
I love it because, effectively it's like you being, reading comic books. If you're on Earth and you're reading comic books and you're reading Doctor Strange, for example, and, then you suddenly are on another planet and you meet a sorcerer there, you go, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. If you think about it from Wim's point of view, 15 minutes earlier, really, he was on his home planet, having never met a Jedi and reading them in storybooks. Oh my God, these are out there. And then he meets one in the same room as him that's going, I will use my Jedi's powers to help you out and get you home.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's the most amazing moment for Wim. And that's why, he's instantly trusting Jod. But I do love the girls just going, not a chance. Who's this guy? Great stuff. Episode 2. So on to episode 3 then. Episode 3 is called?
Very interesting as an astrogation problem.
Astrogation problem. Yes. I guess that comes from Kim, the astrogation owl.
Yes.
We call
guess
it
navigation.
Astronavigation is what I would normally think it was called, but astrogation is what they've called it here in the episode. Once again, I think actually all the episodes are written by John Watts and Christopher Ford, but the episode was directed by David Lowery again, who directed episode 2. And John, do you want to give the synopsis for this one?
Sure. As their parents on Atatin try to locate them, Jod helps break them out of the brig and brings them to his map-making owl-like associate, Kim. She gives them coordinates for what she thinks is their home planet, but when Jod realized she was trying to turn him over to the New Republic, he convinces the kids to flee the planet to make their way home.
Another really fun episode, this one. The first one I want to shout out definitely is Aliyah Shawkat playing Kim the Owl. Aliyah Shawkat from Arrested Development played the cousin Maybe in that show. Good. And it's so weird that she's here doing the voice of this ancient owl. She's putting on a very old woman voice. And all I can think of is Aliyah Shawkat, and that show was only 14 or 15 when she started out. She was into her 20s, I think, when it was finishing, playing a character of 14 or 15. And now she's playing this ancient owl, wise owl. What a great bit of casting. So kind of cool seeing her in there, or hearing her in there at least. But for Saber points on this episode, things that really stood out, I have to say the escape from the pirate outpost at the beginning when they get Jod on board the ship, on board the Onyx Cinder with the kids. And then they send him back to get SN-33, and then he comes back out again, and they won't leave without SN-33. But the actual escape itself, where they can't detach themselves from the fueling station and pull on the fuel line and then wrap them all together, destroying loads of ships at the outpost, and then eventually breaking free, I thought was so cool. It was a really exciting scene. Yeah,
no, that was really, really good, that escape. Because you were kind of wondering, are they going to be able to escape that tether? And it's not even that they just pull away, they go into hyperspace. So they do a hyperspace maneuver, and the line gets pulled out and whips back into the pirate outpost, causing a fair amount of destruction.
Absolutely.
And you have Brutus coming to the fore here, who's taken over from Captain Silvo's crew.
Yeah, the wolf-like leader. Yeah, he looks like
exactly.
Wolfman. Yeah.
And actually, in the escape, as they try to escape, you have Jod and Narwood trying to get SM-33 out of kind of the droid's rubbish bin, where he meets the guy overseeing that, and he's like, well, why would Brutus let you go just before your trial? And so that was kind of quite cool as well.
And did you know who that was?
No.
That was Dr. Octopus himself, Alfred Molina.
Ah, nice one. I did not recognise the voice there.
It's quite cool. And what's really interesting as well about that escape, I think I mentioned this to you a few weeks ago, John, that my eldest brother, when he got his first ORV, his first recreational vehicle in the US, it was absolutely massive, and he did basically the same thing as Jod did here when he was leaving a petrol station. He had the petrol pump still stuck in the back of the car. Sorry, the back of the RV. He saw it from his rearview mirror after driving away. It was a couple of miles down the road.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so thankfully there was some kind of shut-off valve in the petrol station.
Thankfully, yeah.
Or else it exploded and we never found out.
Yeah, well, I think you would find out about an
probably
explosion of a petrol station.
Probably know, yeah.
And I guess they would be on camera.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. Well, as long as he paid for the
He did,
petrol.
Because you just prepay with your card, so he was able to do that. But yeah, don't give an Irishman a 50 or 60 foot vehicle. Anyway, that was the pirate outpost. We talked a little bit about Kim. What did you think of Kim, this owl like creature that meets up with Jod and the kids?
It was really unusual. I'm not entirely sure I get it fully.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, like I guess there's loads of different types of species.
You know, because birds are so delicate, because it's been flung across the room as this owl, I just thought, all the bones are going to break.
Oh, yeah?
You know, it's not going to be very robust, Kim fighting it against Jod. You know, but again, it's like, fine, Grant, gradually just accepted it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a kind of cool concept in some respect. But I kind of like the introduction of the owl brings two things here. I think one is that you get really the first concrete kind of notion as to why Assassin isn't available on any of the star charts. It's an old Republic planet, and it's a collection of, I think, 6 or 8 planets that were all destroyed except for Assassin.
Yes.
It was from the old Republic. They are hidden, and so, you know, you have to get the coordinates to jump back. You can't just use the Navi computer.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So there's that element to it. She sees, I think, one of the symbols on the back of Fern's backpack, and sees then the other symbols of these different planets that were part of the Old Republic. Some network of planets that had importance for the Old Republic. Yeah,
it's like Fern's prefect badge. It's like as if, you know, it's almost military in style, so that's how she's able to connect it, or something that at least allows to connect it. I kind of like the idea, but the other thing that it brings in, the second thing that I presume you're going to say, the other thing that brings is, again, underlying nobody should trust Jod. Even people that he's bringing the kids to as friends to help guide them home are going, don't trust him, and if he ever turns on you, call me and I'll help you out. You know, that's the final line that Kim says to KB.
Yeah.
You know,
she casts doubt and suspicion over the reliability of Jod here, and you know, he's kind of sort of backtracking and trying to say, like, kids get out. She's trying to sort of undermine us rather than help, and you know, this is where you kind of start to get this break in the relationship of the children from Jod, even though he's just saved them from the pirate outpost.
Yeah.
You know?
Although he does do one other cool thing in this episode that kind of binds them together again, which I think was cool. That's the other saber point that I'd pull out from the episode is the second escape. This one from the New Republic X-Wings, because it's, again, really exciting, but Jod's the one that gets each of the 4 kids in their positions. He's got KB running the computers on board. He's got Neil in the pilot's seat, which is really cool for Neil since he's so averse to any kind of action or excitement. But then he gets Fern in one of the gun turrets and Wim in the other one, really reminding you that Fern is Han Solo here and Wim is Luke Skywalker, right? Just like in A New Hope, where you had Luke and Han being the ones in the 2 gun turrets. So this is the moment when the 2 of them get to do something really exciting. I was totally expecting them to shoot each other with their laser cannons, but we do see a bit of a hit on one of the X-Wings. Fern gets it, and Wim claims it was him that got the hit, but there's 2 kids going up shooting down X-Wings. You know, the police of the galaxy at this time.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, ultimately, though, they are trying to avoid the X-Wings, you know, because they're kind of doing a grid pattern search for them.
Exactly.
So they are trying to avoid them, but once they are spotted, they have to provide a bit of fire before they can jump to hyperspace.
Exactly, and we do hear the X-Wing pilot say to Kim afterwards, since it was the kids there, they didn't want to attack, they didn't want to injure the kids, so it wasn't really a dogfight between the X-Wings and the kids. They just got a lucky shot. So,
excellent.
Yeah, so a good one, a fun one.
Yeah.
And again, I love the building of this doubt of who Jod is and what his motivation is.
Definitely.
Episode.
And let us get on to episode 4. The title of this episode is probably one of the sayings from this show that I just can't stop saying. The episode being called... Episode 4 being called I Can't Say I Remember No At-Atin.
There you go. It's the first time Jod's got it right in 3 weeks as well.
That is true as well.
Once again, episode written by John Watts and Christopher Ford, and in another twist of where did they pull the directors from? This is directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schreier, both probably most well known from their movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
In concept, in design, in filming, in acting, absolutely brilliant. One of my favourite films of the year. Came out really, really good 2 years ago, I think. And here they are doing an episode of Skeleton Crew.
No, it's like, cool.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, it really is interesting.
Yeah. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with this episode 4 synopsis?
Sure. Following the coordinates they retrieved from Kim, Jod's associate, the missing kids think they have arrived home, but mistakenly land on a war-torn sister planet at Akron. As a reward for helping the child soldiers of one of the warring factions out, the children and Jod are brought to the fallen sanctum. Once this held the coordinates of their home world at Atin, but they learned that SM-33 had been here with his previous captain and had been instructed to destroy the location and kill anyone asking for directions to the planet. When the droid tries to kill the kids, Neil distracts him while Jod turns him off.
Yes, that switch in the back.
Off and on again.
Give
him a reboot.
Absolutely, but Neil again... building on his character, becoming much more outgoing. He's the one that saves them. You know, the episode really is about Neil this time. It's about him getting more confident, him finding another little love, I think.
Absolutely, in the child leader of the sort of army of children.
Yeah.
I like this. It felt kind of, you know, the lion in Wizard of Oz finding his courage, finding that inner confidence, which was really, really good.
One of the things that I want to point out, I thought was really interesting in the show, if you look at the cast list at the end of each episode, they switch the positions of each of the 4 child actors, so it's not the same positions each episode. The point of that is, as the episodes focus on different characters, they get the lead
excellent
credit, I guess. It always starts with Jude Law and then follows up with one of the different child actors. So this episode 4, is the actor who played Neil.
Excellent stuff. Cool. Yeah. Shall we get on to the saber points?
Let's do it.
First off, at Akron. Nobody knows nothing about Akron.
Yes, this is basically a copy of At-Atin, but with child soldiers this time. I must say, I love the idea of it. I love that even when the kids are getting there, and when we're watching it as the 4th episode of the show, you're kind of going, have they fallen through some kind of wormhole, and is 100 years later, and At-Atin has fallen apart, you know, because it's exactly the same. The layout is exactly the same. They're walking into buildings like their homes that look exactly the same, except they've fallen into rack and ruin. And then they meet up with the child soldiers on the planet. They haven't left their home planet because they're fighting over scraps, whatever's left there on the planet, which is an interesting idea to put in this 4th episode, I thought.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost like children's version of Mad Max in a sense.
Basically,
you've got these different warring factions. Society has gone kaput, but actually the majority of the foot soldiers, the front line, at least for one of the factions, are the children. Yes, there are still some adults there. Yes, they are doing training, but they give much more responsibility over to the children much earlier on.
Exactly.
And
it's like Bugsy Malone in that way.
Yeah, I guess so. and then, like you say, it is effectively At-Atin, but it's one of these other Old Republic planets. At Akron. I love it as they get out of the Onyx Cinder, that you have Jod just going, it tastes like soot or something. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you move through here, you do have sort of the growth of Neil here.
Yeah.
Actually, because they're being forced to go into war effectively to fight on the side of these child soldiers.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I can't do that. I don't want to. This isn't me. I'm afraid, effectively.
Yeah.
Like, this is too much too soon. I'm a kid. I want to be doing the sword fighting like we saw him and Wim do in episode 1.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to fight with a real gun.
I don't actually want to be in a war.
you know?
Yeah. Now, obviously, this to me is where it stretches over into a kids' TV show because, this isn't something that you would normally get written into any other type of show other than kids arrive on planet, kids have to be part of the local army and are put out front to do the scout work as well. These brand new kids that are there are put out front as scouts. So
to test them.
Yeah, but the whole point of it, I guess, is to show the kids how safe and sterile their lives are on At-Aten and how they should have appreciated that a bit more as well. Their lives could have been like this. They could have been in the middle of a war. That's kind of the point.
Agreed. It is another kind of adventure that they're going through, which is far removed from their childhood that they've had on At-Aten.
Yeah.
Yet this is in a place that looks like their home world, but is not the same by a long shot.
Exactly.
Yeah, so really good.
There, but for grace. Go they, I guess. But I also like the resolution to the child soldier moment is Jordan the cash that he stole from Wim, basically. So he just buys them out of the situation and they're able to get themselves.
Well, and he gets the creatures.
Yeah,
as well.
the kind of donkeys, I guess, of the planet that had been stolen by the other faction. He gets them back for the money that he pays, effectively. So so that solves the issue, and they're able to go to the security tower, which is exactly the same position that they would have seen on their own planet, so
which they call the Fallen Sanctum.
Exactly.
But moving on to our other saber point here is that of the people there, SM33 has previously been here on At-Aten.
I really like this. I like how it's written, and I love how Nick Frost plays this moment, where they're able to see the coordinates of all the other 3 planets, including At-Aten that they're on, and then they get to what should be At-Aten, and it's been burnt out. And Fern's kind of looking at it going, how's it been burnt out? And SM33 goes, I did it the last time I was here with my captain. and they're kind of trying to work out, going, why didn't you tell us that when we landed on the planet, that you've been here before? It could have saved us a lot of time. It could have saved everybody a lot of worry and stress if you just told us that it happened. But the trigger that's been built into him by his captain is if anybody says At-Aten, he has to hide any reference to it. And then if they want to find their way there, he has to crush their bones and kill them.
But I think what's really good about it is that leading up to that point, all we can hear generally from SM33 saying is, can't say I remember no At-Aten. Every time the kids are talking about, it's just a general conversation. They're talking about their homeworld of At-Aten to the other child soldiers, and you just have, can't say I remember anything about no At-Aten and all this. And that's the thing. That's the line that keeps getting repeated, and you start going, okay, this, there's something in this. But it's that kind of earworm to me.
Exactly.
Gets into your head, and then all of a sudden they're at the top. They've been taken to this fallen sanctum, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I do know where it is, but I can't tell you, and I have to kill you.
Exactly.
It is. It's really good.
That's a great moment. Moment. And I suppose that solves the issue that I had when I watched the first, was it 2 or 3 episodes that came out in the first day? Two episodes, I think. When they meet SM33 on board the ship, and he's already been on At-Aten, and they're going, just take us back to where you were, and you're going, why didn't you just use the Navi computer? Why don't you just look at the logs on the ship that you have and take them back to where you took them from? That should be an easy resolution to the show. How is it going to last 8 episodes while they try to get back home? And here's the resolution. He has it built in to his programming that if anybody asks, he has to kill them. And if he is asked about At-Aten himself, he has to say, I can't remember no At-Aten. So really like it. Just love that they're able to resolve that here. And again, seeing this planet At-Aten falling apart, that kind of answers that it was just built as a suburb like At-Aten was. But here it is falling apart and falling into rack and ruin. So by the time we get to episode 4 here, I'm totally on board, and now I'm really enjoying the adventure of how are the kids going to get home. I love this stuff, like
the breadcrumbs are starting to form together and to just bring about that sort of wider context, and it's done really, really well.
And I enjoy this stuff. As you said at the opening, John, this isn't for everybody. This is my type of storytelling that I really enjoy. It's probably why I love playing video games. The idea of, okay, the next level is a mission that gets me to this point. I have to work out this task or this piece of the puzzle that will lead me to the next point, and eventually all of those things put together will lead me home. That's the kind of storytelling I like, and that's exactly what's being given to me here in Skeleton Crew. So really enjoying it. Speaking of that, let's get on to episode 5, as we had that big cliffhanger in episode 4 as they turn off SM-33 and Neil passes out. We go on to episode 5, which is, you have a lot to learn about pirates. This episode written by Myung Wesner, who also writes episode 6.
Very good.
So not every episode written by John Watson, Christopher Ford.
No, absolutely.
Two here in the middle.
I think it really ramps up here as well, the show in episodes 5 and episode 6.
I agree.
And it's really, really nicely done, I think, by Myung Wesner.
Absolutely. And another interesting director for this episode as well. This episode is directed by Jake Schreier, who is the director and showrunner of the series Beef, which starred Stephen Yeun, and also directs the upcoming Marvel movie this year, The Thunderbolts. So someone that we're going to be talking a lot about later on in the year.
Thunderbolts asterisks, in fact.
Thunderbolts asterisks, that's correct. Yes, can't forget the asterisks.
No,
John,
you can't.
Do you want to give us the synopsis for this?
Sure. The kids subdue SM-33 and learn his former captain was famed pirate Tak Renard. They make him take them to his former base to find the correct coordinates to At-Atin. But another associate of Jod's alerts his former crewmates to their whereabouts. With the pirates on their trail, Jod and the kids make it to the hidden lair just beneath the spar. When Jod learns that their home planet is an old Republic mint, he turns on the kids, winning the captaincy of their ship from Fern. Wim challenges Jod with a lightsaber he found, but drops it and saves the rest of the kids by sending them through the booby-trapped exit. So there we go.
Aye, absolutely. All exciting there.
Yeah.
I
Again,
have to
a
say.
bit more information here with the with At-Atin being the old Republic mint. I also remember mint being a word used to mean that that's cool. That
It was mint, was it?
It's mint.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. It's just the Old Republic cool place.
Yeah, dead cool is At-Atin.
Let's get on to the savor points and things that stood out for this episode as well. I'm going to start with the lair that SM-33 is bringing them back to, for his old captain's lair, Tak Renard. I absolutely love the idea that because Tak Renard has been gone for so long, and all of his crew are probably dead, and SM-33 didn't return from At-Atin, they've turned the planet into a spa. I love this idea.
It is so good, absolutely.
An adults only spa, no children allowed, of course.
I loved this. There's the hot mud baths outside, which is really cool.
Yep.
I love the fact that the bellhops at this spot look slightly kind of military police. They've got a hard hat on.
Yeah.
And I like that, seeing the Onyx Cinder arrive, the lady at reception is kind of like, well, we've got a banking sort of conference going on, so security is really tight. We can't have any issues with, people trying to sort of steal from the banks and so on.
Yeah.
And then immediately takes all the bribes that Jod gives her to keep his name, his presence all quiet here. But yeah, I think just the overriding premise that this famed pirate's lair is now a spa is really, really good. And it does, I've said it, there's the Goonies element here. And this is where you really get the sense of the Goonies. And it's a bit like One-Eyed Willie's place, that because you've got the golf club. And now you have the spa. And I love the fact that it kind of, they go down below the spa through the secret hole, and there's just this vat of acid sort of guarding the entrance to where Tak Ranad's sort of lair is, and with the little riddle as well in order to access it. Really, really good, but totally gave me the sort of lovely nostalgic feeling for the Goonies. I really love that movie, and I know you're not a fan of it in the same way, but I really like it. That's the thing. Derek is an oddity.
I am a little bit. I think it's just that I can't be stuck in nostalgia anymore. There's so many new good things out there that I'm not as tied to nostalgia. I like seeing...
Well, neither am I, but I do like films.
Yeah, but I kind of like seeing new things in that world. That's why I'm enjoying things like Star Wars Skeleton Crew. You know, I've seen Star Wars 1 billion times, 100 million times. Give me new stuff in that world that's good, and I'll enjoy it. I love seeing new Marvel movies. I don't like just going, oh, well, the first Captain America movie was one of my favorites. I'll just watch that over and over and over again.
Which you do.
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Exactly.
But I don't just like doing that.
No, and I don't just watch the Goonies on loop.
But having watched the Goonies quite recently, I kind of went, oh, maybe it's just not for me anymore. I really enjoyed it when I was a kid, but maybe it's just not for me anymore. That's kind of all. So, but you're totally right. The reference to the Goonies is plain out there, right down to a really good little Easter egg in there. Tak Renard, the former captain of the Onyx Cinder, if you look at his surname, is Renard, and that backwards is Donner. And the director of the Goonies was Richard Donner. So, an Easter egg right on the top there as well. But I really like it. I love, as we see throughout the episode, SM33 getting more and more angry about the fact that this his own hive of scum and villainy,
has been turned into a
his home
spa.
has been turned into a luxury spa. I really like that. I thought that was really good fun.
And I love the fact that they put a restraining bolt on him, and like as the receptionist is taking them to the room, and she's talking about all the spa treatments, the this, that, and the other that they can do, and you have SM33 going to strangle her as the restraining, but is foiled by the restraining bolt as it kicks in.
Very funny,
really good, and that I think that happens a couple of times.
Yeah,
where he's kind of
like,
so
what have you done to my home? Absolutely. There's also a great moment from Jod that I was with him. When all the kids are kind of going, actually, I'm going to go over and check out that cool thing over there on the on the other side of the hotel. And Fern's going, oh, I'm going to check out something on the other side of the hotel. And KB's thinking she's going to check out something else. And John's going, no, you don't seem to understand. There's pirates after us. We need to get this done, and we need to get you home. Just shut up and follow my lead. He just has that really exasperated thing of a single parent with 4 kids. Is what it feels like.
Really
at a luxury hotel where they all just want to
like when they get into the room and they're kind of excited with
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly that. But you can kind of see it. But again, there's that little extra darkness in this, which I like. You know, I don't think kids should not be exposed to darkness in their shows. So I really like that moment when they make their way through the acid and get in to this hoard of treasure when they get there, and then Jod just presses the button to release the acid on the other pirates from his crew.
I know, absolutely.
I was quite surprised we saw pretty much all of those crew back later, but not with burn marks. But it felt this really dark moment where he just killed them all with the acid flooding.
Yeah,
in.
I mean, I don't think he killed all the pirates that went after him, but it's just that those that were, because they're trying to break through. Yeah. They're trying to get information as to the coordinates of Assassin and what Assassin means, and this is where they find out it's an Old Republic mint. You see the Old Republic credit signs lighting up in Jod's eyes. And as I say, then the relationship deteriorates even further.
Yes.
Where he then takes control of the Onyx Cinder from Fern.
I have to call out the performance of Ryan Keira Armstrong as Fern in this scene with Jod. I think it's really, really good. I think it's her best moment in the season, where Jod challenges her to the captaincy. Up until this point, it's not that it's been a game to her. She's always been the more serious one of the 4.
Yeah, she seems the eldest. She is the kind of Thanos. I mean, the Josh Brolin of this Goonie crew.
Okay, I see that there.
In a sense.
Yeah. But she kind of took the responsibility on. But now Jod's telling her, no, kid, there's an adult in the room now. You need to give me the
stakes
captaincy.
are higher.
And if you're not going to just hand it over to me, I will kill you for it. It's a really strong moment, and I think she plays that moment really well. She suddenly feels oh no, how do we trust this guy? He's turning on all of us. I think it's a really good moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the other side of this is the reason why those pirates are here, and it's our second saber point, is that Jod bumps into another associate here, but in the form of Kelly MacDonald, who's kind of all sort of this white creature called Pocket. And it was like, I didn't even recognize her until maybe 20 seconds in.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's Kelly MacDonald.
It's once you hear that voice, she was in Trainspotting, she was in Harry Potter, and she'd been in loads of other stuff as well.
Absolutely.
But those are the two big things that you'd recognize her voice from. So yeah, kind of cool to see her. But again, it's just that thing of Jod meeting people all across the galaxy who know they can't trust him.
Yeah.
You know,
and she turns on him, and that's why the pirates arrive. I do like it as well that it's kind of like in Cloud City when the Falcon arrives there and it's escorted in by two ships, and we have the Onyx Cinder having that treatment as well here at the Spa. The pirate ship, as it comes in, is also greeted by these ships to escort it in, part of the luxury experience.
Yep.
And they just blow it out of the sky, the two ships out of the sky. And I thought that was quite funny.
That's really good. Yeah, I really like that. That was really funny that they took out the two ships that are there. And I think at this point of the series, 5 episodes in, and suddenly I'm kind of going, ooh, I wonder is Jod going to make it to the end of the series? He started out the series getting his entire pirate crew turning on him and getting stuck in the brig. And now everywhere he goes, all of his associates are turning on him. First, Kim calls in the X-Wings, the police of the galaxy, to arrest him. And now Pocket here, Kelly MacDonald, is calling in the pirates and telling them where he is.
Yeah.
So can he go anywhere? Will he actually reach at Aten at all by the end of the series if this many people are chasing after him? So,
yeah, absolutely.
So I thought that was just a nice twist.
And it has that Han Solo vibes. It was very different, but there is that vibe about being chased across the galaxy.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the first thing we learn about Han Solo in the first movie is that Jabba the Hutt's chasing him. So it does seem like that. But I think when he turns on the kids, you go, oh no, this isn't our good guy. This is the bad guy of the show.
Yeah.
But maybe in the next episode, there's something that's going to come up that will forgive what Jod's done. I suppose that's the feeling that you get by the end of episode 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us get on to episode 6, Zero Friends Again.
And this episode written once again by Myung Wesner and directed. Another great director here, Bryce Dallas Howard. She's directed episodes of The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. After this episode and those episodes as well, her Star Wars movie can't be far away, can it?
You would think it would be there, or even just her show,
absolutely,
for TV, or her movie, definitely. I mean, this was really standout for me this episode, and I think it's because of the heart from the kids here, as they kind of split up. So I really thought this was great, fair dues to both the writer, director, and of course the cast, because I just thought this to me felt like the best episode of the series.
Me too.
To be honest, and it was good fun as well in parts with the old the techno crabs.
Follow. Food.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. John, do you want to give us the synopsis for this episode?
Sure. After escaping from Jod, KB is angered by Fern's insistence she can do anything. So she chooses to follow Wim's plan of following trash crabs to lead them out of their predicament. Neil doesn't want anyone left alone, so joins Fern on her long climb up the side of the mountain to escape back to the Spa. Both groups learn that they have to work together to overcome these huge obstacles and eventually find their way to their ship, the Onyx Cinder, and escape the planet. Meanwhile, Jod is recaptured by his former crewmates. Yeah.
Yeah, back with the pirates, Jod, and they are now with a brand new version of the Onyx Cinder, the kids. I think for our saber points, this episode for me is all about KB and Wim's side of the story. That was so interesting to watch. I just thought the emotions that KB is going through when she is trying to deal with a friend who believes in her, who believes that she can do everything she used to be able to do. We hear that KB had an accident which has left her with these augmentations that don't always work, and something that's been kind of touched upon throughout the first couple of episodes of the show when it cuts back to her moms at home, who are really worried about KB, that she could have an incident that they're not there to help her with.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's not much detail that they go into about what the accident is or what caused it, but I love this.
Yeah, but
this
I mean,
story of what KB's going through, where she's trying to
Exactly.
tell her friend she's not the same person as she used to be, and probably Fern is thinking, I'm just going to treat her like I used to treat her. That's what she'd want.
Yeah.
She's still my friend, you know?
And I think the other thing, it's heightened here on the Spar planet, and we kind of just have slight hints at it from the previous episode, because the steam, the salts in the air, I guess, are affecting some of her augmentations. In particular, her power cells and the metal. And this is really where, you have this moment where, and I like how KB puts it to Wim after it is resolved. She goes, yeah, I could have had a full systems failure. Or you could say that you saved my life.
Exactly.
And it's really, really, it's a great scene. It's filled with heart, soul, but from a child's perspective.
Absolutely.
And it really, really is written so well. And I loved both Wim and KB here together, as Wim is trying to save effectively his new friend. It's also that realization that they have been on this adventure together, because up till now, and it's certainly, absolutely explicitly made clear here as there is a split in the group. You've got Neil and Fern going off, and Wim and KB. But up till this point, that's not been the split in the group.
Exactly.
It has been the girls against the boys, in traditional parlance, in that sense, where you've had Wim and Neil, who were friends. Wim, in a sense, a little bit jealous of Fern, who's a little bit older, and KB, and we saw that in episode 1, where you see them using speeder bikes to get to school. Him and Neil are just on a boring old bus. They're effectively having adventures getting to school by cutting across the forest. So that's been the split in this group. That's where there's been the friction, and here the friction is between those groups, where KB and Fern are falling out, as you say.
Fern is saying that she wants to climb up the mountain to get the most direct way, let's say, to get back to the Onyx Cylinder, and instantly goes, we have to do it. Look, KB's on my side, without even asking KB, and KB is saying she can't do it. And you find out as the episode goes on that effectively, if this had happened to her while climbing up the side of a mountain, if her power had shut down climbing up the side of a mountain, she'd be dead. There's no way that she would have been able to do the work that she needed to do with Wim, or gotten Fern to fix her while she was hanging off the side of a mountain. That's not possible. So, but there's such a great line when she is saved by Wim, and she says to him, I bet you thought that saving a life would be more exciting, and then says thank you Jedi to him. I thought that's absolutely lovely,
really cool.
And the other side reciprocating it again, Wim having a really good moment here where KB's opened her heart to him, saying, I couldn't tell Fern about this because I'd lose her, and then I'd be back to having no friends again. I'd be back to zero friends again, the title of the episode. And without a beat at all passing, Wim says to her, well, then you can just be friends with me and Neil, like you're friends now. Like, it's not like losing Fern is the worst thing. You don't have zero friends, you have us, and it's so automatic from Wim. Gave a little tear in my eye, I must say.
It's so good, and it absolutely was fantastic. Completely loved this. And all the while, you've got kind of Fern and Neil. They don't kind of go on quite the same journey, but they do to some extent. Neil's being sort of, is nervously going up this ladder to get to the top of this huge rock outcrop where the spar is. And in the end, Fern is helping him, pulling him up, giving him a system so that he's not focusing on the huge drop below him, but is just focusing on like one step at a time to get up to the spar.
But it's also in his own way, Neil, similar to KB, can't do everything because he's got short arms and short legs. They're much shorter than Fern, so he can't reach between the steps.
Yeah.
So she has to take account of that. And Neil's willing to stand up to her and say, look, I can't do what you do. So Fern has to learn in this moment that not everybody can do what she does, and she has to take account of Neil. So it's a good little lesson that comes in there for the four kids here as they develop together, as they learn new things they never had to learn when they were all at home on Aladdin.
Yeah, exactly.
So, which I really liked.
I think the other saber point here is all trash crabs, great and small.
Absolutely.
Where you have the Wim is his plan in a sense, and it's probably slightly nonsensical.
Completely.
They have kind of escaped the clutches of Jod, and they've found themselves in this kind of waste zone where all the refuse from the spa is taken, but there's all these crabs using the trash from the spa as shells, so like hermit crabs, really.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And he's kind of like, oh, if we follow the trash crabs, they'll lead us out of this this waste, this dump, effectively, and back to the spa. And in a sense, like, you can see Fern's point. She's like going, but the spa's there, and there's like a route up to it.
You can see it,
And the trash crabs take him in a totally different direction to where the spa is going, and I think KB just goes with Wim as well to anger Fern, you know, and
but as I say,
have a jab at her.
She would have died if she climbed up the mountain. That's
absolutely.
You know, and
that's the other side of it.
Fern wasn't listening, but I do love that it's kind of a little bit of the you hear what you want to hear from Wim, because he starts talking to the creatures, saying, "Should we follow them?" And they respond with "Follow, follow, follow." And in his head, he's hearing them actually talk to him, saying, "Follow us, and we'll save you." But actually, they're just repeating words that he said, which he learns very much later when they meet the massive trash crab, and he goes, "Uh-oh, I think we're food." And all the trash crabs are going, "Food, yes, food, food, food."
Yeah, we're never going to get home, and they start saying home, home, home. Yeah, so absolutely. They're really good fun. And the giant trash crab is a practical effect.
Fully practical, yeah.
Wow.
It's really cool. It was done in the old style of the stop motion creature, so very cool that they did that. You know, like, one of the things that people love about the old Star Wars movies, the early Star Wars movies, the first three, is how much was done with small miniatures, with very big miniatures as well, and done as practically as they possibly could. And then, you know, obviously CGI came along and special effects came along and has come along, but at least relying on that old style, at times they've still kept within the Star Wars framework, I suppose. And it's cool to see it again here with the giant trash crab.
Yeah, I think just slightly as well, a third saber point here, because we do have a butterfly emerging from the chrysalid here. So the Onyx Cinder, their ship, at the start you have of when they find the ship and they meet SM-33. SM-33 warns them about hitting this button, which will start the demolition sequence. And because of their predicament of being attacked by this huge, I guess, trash compactor, effectively.
It's a walking trash compactor.
A walking trash compactor.
Always
they
dangerous in Star Wars.
Hit the emergency demolition sequence, and out from underneath the shell of the old Onyx Cinder comes this much sleeker, much more streamlined Onyx Cinder, which looks very cool, actually.
You want this, don't you? You want a Lego version of this, or a
cool.
statue of this?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It looks really, really nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have survived this trash compactor.
Yeah.
It's fairly sort of it's like an attritional trash compactor. It just keeps on coming. I mean, the kids are trying to get the old Onyx Cinder out from its clutches, because it's kind of, as it's scooping up all the other trash, its hooks grab onto the Onyx Cinder. They fire at it. The blasters don't work. So in the end, their only option is this demolition sequence.
Yeah, it's just a tiny pet peeve of mine when CGI creators are doing these kind of scenes, and they keep layering in things that are totally unbelievable that people couldn't possibly get out of. And I do think in this scene, as that trash compactor is getting closer and closer, and its teeth or its claws are getting inside the ship, you can see it reaching inside and getting so close to Wim that he should be dead. He's so close to the front of the ship that the rest of the kids should be dead. And then they still are able to pull away. I don't really know how that works physically. I just don't know how it would work when the I'll call it teeth again, when they're so embedded in the outer core of the Onyx Cinder. I don't know how they would get away. So it's just a little pet peeve. It's not as bad here as in some other films, like The Hobbit is my usual go-to example of overuse of CGI. But at least it leaves us with an awesome version of the Onyx Cinder for the last couple of episodes. Yeah.
On to episode 7.
Yes.
We're going to be in so much trouble.
Yes, they are. Back to writers John Watts and Christopher Ford for this episode, and this one directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who directed the movie Minari, starring Stephen Yeun, and last year had a big box office success with the sequel to Twister, aptly titled Twisters. And he's also directed an episode of The Mandalorian as well, so he's used to Star Wars too. But a really interesting choice again for the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm loving the directors that they've got on the show. It's really interesting.
Love Twisters as well.
It was fun.
Oh no, I mean the ice cream.
Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah. Yes. John, do you want to tell us the synopsis for the penultimate episode of The Skeleton Crew?
Sure. The children's parents finally get a message out of Atassin's atmosphere to their kids to lead them home. As they arrive, Jod and his former crew are waiting. Jod kills their new captain Brutus and retakes leadership of the pirate crew. He forces the kids to take him to Atassin under the guise of a visiting Republic emissary. The droids in charge of the planet show him the vaults of treasure of the old Republic Mint as the kids finally reunite with their parents. But Jod interrupts the happy moment and ignites his lightsaber.
I'm really sorry. I think I wrote Imperial Mint in the synopsis because Imperial Mints are quite a famous brand of mints over here.
Yeah,
Nothing to do with the Imperials. I just made a mistake there with the Old Republic and Imperial Mints. That was all.
Yes, I did have to edit that on the fly.
Yeah, sorry about that, John. I'll do better next time. The one I want to call out on our saber points, the opening moment here. I really enjoyed the pass the parcel of the parents trying to get this message out from Atassin.
Yeah.
Thought it was really good. This thing that's been going on in the background throughout the season is the parents are also trying to find their kids. With very limited success so far, breaking this barrier and getting a message out to the wider galaxy is obviously massively difficult. We don't know how long the planet has been shielded and kept away from the rest of the wider galaxy. But here in the opening scene, having them pass this communications device so they can finally get a message out to their kids to tell them how to get home, I thought was really good. It was a really interesting opening. And having the droids use the stun guns on the parents, knocking each one of them out as the next one takes the ball and runs a couple of yards.
It really,
cool. Yeah. Really exciting version of American football.
It was really good. But this probe that gets the message out to bring the new Onyx Cinder to Atassin, but equally you have Brutus and the pirates waiting there as well. And I do like the fact that over the course of this episode we have Jod really reinstating himself as leader of this pirate crew.
Absolutely.
He's the bound. He's effectively speaking all this guff really about again Atassin, and because of what happened in episode 1 where they open up the ship that they've just attacked right in the opener, and there's just literally one credit there on the floor. Brutus is still kind of pushing back against how Jod as anyone that you should take any notice of, even though we know he's telling the truth here in this instance. But he does persuade Brutus, well, I'm still your prisoner. What's the harm in going to this location? And then you get the probe coming up and it's spotted, So it ends up with Brutus and his ship there in orbit as the Onyx Cinder comes in. I like the fact that they do send one of their own down who just gets blown up.
Burns up and dies.
So this swirling nebulous of cloud is a defense mechanism surrounding At-Atin.
Now, I will say I do take Jod's side here, and the pirate crew are really stupid to trust Brutus. So Jod knows this planet has been hidden for centuries. He knows it's a mint. He knows the kids came from there, and Brutus is going, the minute they get there, Brutus is going, hang on a second, this is just a gas planet. Kill them. Yeah? Jod's kind of going, what did you expect? You got to a hidden planet. There's going to be some task you're going to have to complete to get down to this mint, right? So I'm with Jod on that, but I do love how Jude Law plays this moment with Brutus where he's going, I'm going to be thrown out of the airlock. I have to come up with an idea really quickly to get the team on my side again, I thought that was really good. You could see it in his eye, just flashing in his eyes going, I really need something really fast. I like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it turns very quickly. We have the Onyx Cinder come here, gets caught in the tractor beam, and as it's brought onto the deck of the pirate ship,
tractor beams,
then this seals Brutus's downfall, and it becomes quite dark as Jod just blasters him in the face, really. And obviously you don't see any of that, but you have the kids pretending to be sort of a big monster in the darkness, using the claw of the Onyx Cinder to sort of grab Brutus to prevent him from getting aboard. And he is sort of held by this huge claw, mechanical claw, and this allows Jod then to sort of take the reins back and execute Brutus and take control of the pirates and ultimately start to begin his attack effectively on At-Atin.
Yeah, and I suppose another lesson for the kids to learn, these 4 kids, not all of them knew each other at the beginning of the season. They now formed this really tight bond, and they kind of believe the rest of the galaxy follows those rules, I guess. You spend time with each other and you'll care about the people that you're aboard a ship with, let's say. So the threat that they had for Brutus was, none of you get on board, everybody step back, or we'll kill him, we'll kill your friend. And Jod takes the opportunity to just shoot Brutus and take over the pirates. So they've learned a really... I suppose a terrible lesson that not everyone in the galaxy cares about human life the way they do, or other life the way they do. So I thought it was a real shock of a scene for Jod to do that, and shows you the kind of person that he is as well. He'll do anything to get the leadership back.
Definitely. But they do manage to switch it round in order to escape from the pirate ship. They think they've, with SM-33, they use him effectively taking control back of the Onyx Cinder, because the pirate code doesn't allow Jod to be both the captain of the Onyx Cinder and the pirate ship.
Exactly.
So, and I love the fact that it gets really kind of childish with like, I call claimsies, says Fern, and Jod is kind of like, no, I am the captain, and it's like Wim going, I claim reclaimsies, but you have SM-33 effectively expelling all of the pirates on board of the Onyx Cinder out into the hangar on the pirate ship, and they look to make their escape. But you have Jod having gotten back on the Onyx Cinder and really then taking control here as he slices the head of SM-33.
Yeah, and again, from Jod's point of view, it's just that moment of, I'm almost there, but these kids, they're just getting in my way and not allowing me to just achieve the simple thing that I should be able to do. And he just steps back and goes, right, shut up. I've got a headache. I don't want to hear a word from you. Let me think about what my plan is going to be when I arrive there. And I suppose the final saber point, it turns out actually that it's pretty easy. He is expected as the emissary of the Republic, and he's accepted as the emissary of the Republic from the automatic protocols on the planet, and part of that's
and on the Onyx Cinder, because it is also an old Republic ship.
Well, that's the big thing. That's the only way he's able to get there. The reason why he's accepted is because the Onyx Cinder is able to make its way through the defenses of the planet, because it is a ship of the planet At-Atin.
Yes,
and without that, he couldn't have gotten in there. So so he's instantly accepted as this emissary. All the droids that are there are, you know, laying down and showing him everything about the place. They show him one of the vaults that houses millions and millions of credits. You know, like, they got really excited about it. It's a very small bag full of credits at the beginning of the season, and here he is, just surrounded by more than he could possibly count.
Absolutely.
You know? And it's only one of 1139 volts as well.
Yeah, and you have the kids finally getting reunited, but ultimately knowing there is this huge peril in the form of Jod, as he is being accepted as an emissary, even by their parents. You know, and he has threatened the children. You know, if you say anything, I will kill your parents. And you know, so it all becomes a bit ominous as he ignites his lightsaber right at the end as it goes to credits. So there's a good little ending here, I think, just before the final episode, which I think we can get on to now.
Absolutely.
Episode 8, The Real Good Guys.
Yes, the finale, written by John Watts and Christopher Ford and directed by John Watts. Once again, just like the premiere episode. John, a little bit of a bigger synopsis for this one, because it is the final episode, which wraps up everything. So do you want to tell us the synopsis for the final episode of Skeleton Crew?
Sure. On Atassin, Jod Nanarwood introduces himself as the Republic emissary to the kids' parents. He tells Neil's mum, Wim's dad, and KB's mums to keep them grounded and sends droids to watch over them. Meanwhile, Jod takes Fern and her mother to meet the elusive supervisor. But the supervisor quickly learns that Jod is a pirate trying to take over the Republic Mint and tries to stop him. Jod uses his lightsaber to destroy the supervisor, shutting down the power to all the droids on the planet. At home, the kids concoct a plan to get a message to the owlish Kim and the New Republic. Wim and his father team up with Fern and her mum to take down Jod and restore the planet's power, while KB and SM-33 fly the Onyx Cinder through the barrier with gunner support from Neil. As the X-Wings, B-Wings and cruisers of the New Republic arrive to take back the planet, grounding Jod and his pirate ship.
Ooh, big exciting end on the planet Atassin.
Yeah, absolutely. And a few little shades of hell from 2001 Space Odyssey as well for the old supervisor.
Yes, Stephen Fry voicing the supervisor.
Yeah, with a nice big red eye.
Yeah, a very very recognisable voice to anybody over this side of the Atlantic as well. So I think he's been in everything that we know of for many, many years. So kind of cool to have Stephen Fry in Star Wars there as well. Not a big shock, though, that the supervisor was a droid all along. Makes it easy to keep everybody in place when everybody just sticks to the plan that the droids have been programmed with, effectively. So not a huge surprise. What was a big saber moment for you for this episode? The big saber point for this episode for you?
I think for me, it's kind of Jod's backstory here that we get very briefly, and you know, actually, in the end, it's really quite sad. I mean, you know, the relationship he's had with his children has just disintegrated, and there is sort of no coming back from it. But here we realise that, you know, his force sensitivity, his skills with the force, you know, being able to sort of bring the key over at the pirate outpost where he was imprisoned with the kids. All that Jedi skill has come from some minor training that he received from a Jedi who was ultimately hunted down and murdered while he was made to watch. And so it brings this real darkness into Jod's world here. You know, he tries to tell the children, you know, the galaxy is dark with a few pinpricks of light. It's not the childhood optimism that you think it is at this moment of time of your life as a child. It's kind of the galaxy weary older grown up who's had the life excitement and imagination sucked out of him. And we see that, you know, he was in prison because he kept failing to get the big bounty of treasure.
Exactly.
He's been chased from one side of the galaxy to the next throughout this whole series. He's finally gotten to the point where, you know, he's holding trillions worth of credits and can control this mint.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting, you know, he has this moment where Fern's mother is like, why are you trying to destroy everything?
Yeah.
You know, we'll let you go. Just take what you need and we can destroy the security and let you out of here as long as you don't harm anyone.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to destroy anything. He wants all this in place so he can have this hidden outpost. This is the Pirate's Cove that is hidden from everyone.
Yeah.
And you have Kim here as well, the owl, saying, you know, some of the best pirate hunters are the New Republic. So, you know, the New Republic is becoming is I guess the Royal Navy of the high seas, and they are the pirates.
Yep.
And I just kind of like how, you know, all this potential for Jod has always been kind of taken from him, and here again, it's slipping through his grasp.
Yeah.
And his admission that the galaxy is dark is borne out by, in a sense, not just the story we've seen in this series, but also from when he was much younger.
Exactly. And you know, like we see with any good villainous character, I suppose, he doesn't believe he's villainous. He's saying the galaxy is dark with a few pinpricks of light, and he's just trying to chase those pinpricks of light.
Yeah.
But will do anything to get them. And if that means killing people in front of him and killing families, that's what it means. But what he really wants is, can he not just walk in there, take over the supervisor's role? You guys do everything you did yesterday, and I'm just the one that takes the money from the mint, rather than the supervisor and the droids, right? That's kind of all he wants. Now, it doesn't align very well with him bringing in the pirates, who instantly, as they arrive in, just open fire on everything around, randomly shooting everybody, grabbing people, shooting them, killing them as they arrive. He doesn't make much kind of comment about that. It's not like he's Jod's saying, if you give me the codes, I will stop their attack. He's kind of going, well, the pirates are here now, and you guys go back to work, and you all work for me from now on. But he doesn't really make any mention of what the pirates are actually doing on the planet outside that door. Maybe he's just avoiding talking about it. That's something Jod would definitely do.
But again, it's to Kim's warning to the kids about Jod. It's also in terms of Pocket on the Spar planet.
Don't trust him.
You know, don't trust Jod and the Narwood.
Yeah.
And here, yes, he is saying, look, it will all be fine, it'll all be nice, look, you just carry on what you're doing. But effectively, the pirates are rampaging, pillaging, burning down the city around him, as he's trying to sort of sweetly tell them that nothing will change. Well, it's all changing in front of them.
Exactly.
So I thought that was like really, really kind of an interesting aspect to this episode.
It was, and a better choice than what I thought. And I think most people had a suspicion that what the original choice for the story was that Jod was another of the Jedi kids that had escaped Order 66 himself. And that's where he had a little bit of training and had learned a little bit of the Jedi abilities. I kind of liked that actually it was a Jedi that was on the run who taught Jod, in the small time that she spent with him, taught him a few Jedi tricks, and then got killed herself. I kind of like that. So he's not another person that escaped from Order 66.
Yeah.
He's not a Jedi himself. He only just learnt a few things being a Force-sensitive kid, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of like that choice. It was different enough that it adds something else.
It does. And I do like that they've kept Jod's ultimate resolution here quite open in the story. We don't see him getting arrested by the New Republic. We effectively see the kids leaving him down in the belly of where the supervisor was, because they want to go up and find out what's happened to KB, because she's the one that's gone up in the Onyx Cinder to sort of, get the New Republic. So he's there on his own, and his whereabouts we don't know by the end of this.
Yeah, I think he's accepted his fate is the way it looks. But there is a moment where Wim, I know we said the relationship can't be mended, but I think Wim, on hearing the story, is willing to almost take Jod back in. Jod refuses.
Yeah.
So Wim kind of goes, come with us, Jod. You're one of us almost. And Jod's kind of going, nope, that's it. End of. The plan has failed. I'm gonna be arrested. So he's kind of accepting his fate. But it's not totally written out that that's what's going to happen. They could have a second season, and Jod could be allowed away for the help that he did give the kids to get home. I guess that could be the way it goes. For the final saber point for the episode, really, I loved the arc of what happens with the kids here. At the start of the season, it was all about going day to day. The problem with school. The excitement of reading adventures of Jedi. And by the end of the season, the 4 kids have a better plan of saving the planet of At-Atten than their parents do, which I absolutely love. Wim's father doesn't believe that his son would be able to come up with a plan. He doesn't want to trust him. Fern's mother just wants to keep her safe and alive. Doesn't want to do anything that could possibly jeopardize her at all, or anybody else. So when we have KB, Neil, Wim getting together to save Fern, they're doing this really exciting plan, all based on all the things they've learnt when they've been off planet. What a great way to end the season, having them use all the things that they've learnt. The plan they come up with is, let's get on board the Onyx Cinder. Let's contact the people that we met along the way as the people that can save the planet here. We know there is hyperspace jumps. That's exactly how they got away from At-Atten. So the X-Wings arriving in 2 flaps, as Kim says in her Owly parlance. That makes sense, right? So now the X-Wings, the new Republic police force, are able to come to At-Atten and save the planet from the pirates. That's a great way of doing it. It all feels really quick, of course, but that's what you expect from the Saturday morning cartoon being wrapped up after 8 episodes.
It was very quick. I was thinking there was some kind of sort of epilogue going to happen. Like seeing Jaws being kind of arrested by the New Republic.
That wasn't surprised.
Or the kids sort of being friends at school.
Yeah.
Once all the dust is settled, or even just some kind of New Republic intervention of some description. But it finishes quite quickly, really.
It finishes with the cheers. It finishes with, yay, the Republic are here. Nothing's ever going to be the same, effectively, So I just don't think they wanted to pin their flag to the mast, really, for another pirate reference there. What I did love is seeing Wim see the X-Wing pilots come in. We see one very young pilot in that X-Wing group that comes in. He looks about 15, 16 to me, anyway. And I'm kind of going, Wim's probably seeing these people, and this is what he wanted to do. When he was supposed to take the assessment in that first episode, he said, I don't want to be an analyst. I don't want to be a data analyst.
Yeah.
I want to be someone that's there to help people. And they were kind of laughing, going, well, the helper droids do that on our planet. But now he sees a trajectory. He could be the next person joining the Republic. If we see another season of Skeleton Crew, or at least this cast coming back in the future, they're going to be older. This was filmed a while ago. We've seen them in interviews. They're already coming into 13, 14 years old now. So the next time that we see these kids, they will be much more grown and could be members of the Republic. And very likely they will be.
Definitely.
So I hope we do get more of this cast and this story.
Me too. As I say, I think it would be great to see some other iteration of the Skeleton Crew as season 2.
That'd be cool. And one other thing I really liked about the plan and how it all came out was that KB was aboard Onyx Cinder, had SM-33 beside her, holding his head in her hands while he piloted the ship. Really cool. Neil, who had been the gunner on the planet that they were on at Akron, he's now the gunner protecting KB's ship getting off. Wim and his father on their speeder bikes, rushing in to save the planet. Wim using his absolutely terrible convincing skills to distract Jod, at least, while his father turns the power onto the planet. I just loved that each of them were using the skills that we know they have. Even the bad ones, like not actually being able to convince anybody of anything, but just talking as much as you possibly can with Wim. I thought that was great. So overall, John, what are your final thoughts on Skeleton Crew Season 1?
For me, I really, really enjoyed the Skeleton Crew Season 1 by the end. I kind of was looking forward to the next week to watch the next episode. I think, I would kind of give this 3.5 At-Attens out of 5. I think it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's certainly maybe... Not only is it not for everyone, I think the first episode, maybe the first couple, could just be a little bit off-putting just for someone watching them. Because you don't get the sense of it. But I think once you start to get the sense of the planet... that their parents aren't nefarious, they're not kind of just working for the Empire, that there's a real heart, soul, and adventure to this, and it's really backed up nicely by these 4 children in these roles. I think Jude Law has a great anchor role as well. There's so many nice sort of big names, Kelly MacDonald, Stephen Fry, all kind of in here just doing little cameos.
Alfred Molina.
Yeah,
of course,
Alfred Molina. I love SM33 as the robot. And the earworm of a saying which really got me, which is I can't say I remember it just, and so from that I really thought this was a great little show, and as another person who has said more appropriately, it's Saturday cartoons brought to life.
Exactly.
And I really, really enjoyed it. So I would absolutely say, give it a try. Skeleton Crew season 1.
Yeah, lots of fun. Really enjoyed the show as the weeks went on. Sorry we couldn't cover it weekly. For those of you who follow TV podcast industry, we do usually cover the shows weekly, but just the time of year came out with us doing What If from Marvel every single day for a few days. It took up a lot of time, and we did have some other things on, but I'm glad we were able to talk about Skeleton Crew season 1. I'm very positive on it. I think a lot of people who watched the full season have really enjoyed it. A lot of our listeners and a lot of the viewers of Star Wars who've watched the full season have really enjoyed it, and it didn't seem to be getting as much of the usual hate that you get online for for Star Wars. Thankfully, it seems to be a little bit exempt from that, and I hope it stays that way because it's just a fun show. And if you've got kids, sit them down in front of this with you, and hopefully by the end of it they'll share your excitement for Star Wars. That's kind of what I'd hope.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. We do have a little bit of feedback in from our wonderful fellow crew members. First up, Donald Dennis says, it got much better after the first or second episode. It ended up being really good.
Yeah, I would definitely concur with that, Donald, for sure. And also, Anne Kissinger Wurst says, I don't necessarily want more Skeleton Crew, but more quality Star Wars shows with a longer season, more episodes, and longer weekly episodes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see that. I think, always like a little bit more.
Absolutely. Leave them wanting more, as the old phrase goes. Yeah, I'd love to see a bit more. I'd love to see more of the Skeleton Crew. I hope we see them in the future. I hope they form part of that Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Boba Fett series that goes into the Mandalorian Grogu movie. That would be really cool. To see the kids here from Skeleton Crew in some sense in that future movie. That would be very cool. But also, I want a few Star Wars shows every year. It feels like there's a big gap all the time between Star Wars shows. Hopefully, we're going to get Ahsoka later in the year or early next year as well, seeing season 2 of that show, as that's dialing up, I guess, or gearing up for its filming for second season at the moment. So hopefully we'll see that pretty soon. We saw the new casting for Baylan Skoll, the replacement for Ray Stevenson, who sadly passed away after the filming of Ahsoka. Then we're going to see Rory McCann taking over that role of Baylan Skoll. Rory McCann, who played the Hound in Game of Thrones and was also in Hot Fuzz as well. Yarp. So really a really good actor. Really interested to see what he brings to the role. Baylan Skoll was a really interesting character in Ahsoka, so really excited to see that story continue. What's it going to be like in season 2?
Definitely. I think there's hopefully plenty of good Star Wars to come. I think Andor season 2 as well, in 3 months' time, really.
Coming out in the middle of our busiest season. So we will definitely say that unfortunately we're not going to be able to cover Andor weekly. We have said if we do have time,
we'll see.
If we have space, we will cover at least the full season, like we have done with Skeleton Crew and with the Acolyte. We're hoping that we'll be able to at least do a wrap up at the end of the season, because we did love the first season of Andor, and we'd like to cover that first and then do one on the second season of Andor. But we'll see how that goes. If you like what you heard on the podcast, if it's your first time hearing TV Podcast Industries, pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com and subscribe to us over there. We've got lots more coming up this year. If you haven't heard our wrap-up of 2024 and our preview episode of 2025, we have announced loads of shows coming up. Next up, Chris and I will be back from February 6th with Invincible Season 3. So that'll be our show for February. And then all three of us hope to be back for Captain America Brave New World after it releases in cinemas from February 14th.
Yes, absolutely. Perfect date. February the 14th for all those in love comic fans.
Yes, well, I'm kind of in love with Captain America. And my husband, John, sorry.
Excellent.
Of course. You come first, John. You come first.
Yes, it would be perfect Valentine's Day.
It'll be a perfect Valentine's
sure.
Day for us two, to be honest, going to the cinema to watch Captain America.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, love it. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next time.
Yeah, excellent stuff, fellow crewmates. Thanks so much for joining us for this tour of Season 1 of Skeleton Crew. Until next time, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep being wizard.
Bye.
Bye.
So that'll be our episode together for the next. So that'll be our show I'm saying our a lot.
No. That's fine. Captain.